right, we are going live in just a few seconds. So if you could hear this, let us know where you are calling in from, how you're feeling. We're going to be talking about keeping things simple, and we're going to get started in just a second.
We should see how many times we can say simple in this quickie.
Right?
I think it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a lot. Okay, cool. We're going live in three, two, one. Hello. Hey.
Hey guys, happy Thursday.
Yes, we are back with the ASC Success Quickie number 27.
What?
I know, right? That is amazing. And I am Gary Ware, and I'm joined by the ever so beautiful,
Apryl Schluter.
which is this way. Um, and we are the Accountability Success Circle Success Team. And this week we are talking about how to keep things simple,
Keep it simple, stupid.
right?
KSS. We're
Yes.
sending kisses out to the world.
Yeah. So if you need some assistance on keeping things simple, hit that heart, hit that thumbs up. Um, and the reason why we were talking about simplicity and keeping things simple, because over at the ASC, our theme this month is minimalism. And we figured, since we are quarantining at home, there's probably a lot of buildup and things like that. And so why not start to simplify? And it's not just your physical environment. We're going to be talking about all the environments. And are you ready to jump into it?
Yep, let's do it.
Cool. So, tip number one for how to keep things simple, and we said it again, is lead with intention. April, how about you kick this off?
Sure. So we're trying to keep these tips simple. And I love how you always like zoom in on me, but I can't force that to happen to you. So like
I know. I need to get better at zooming in on me too. So good.
zoom. So one of the biggest things, and I feel like this is such a foundational thing in anything you do, any problem you're trying to solve, anything, is to understand why you're doing what you want to do. So if you're just trying to keep things simple for the sake of, and it doesn't need to be crazy, right? It can be a simple reason. Like, I want to stay away from overwhelm, or I want to be able to automate things, or I want to, make sure that everybody in the room is satisfied with whatever I'm creating. Just as long as you have that intention, that can be your why. If you don't necessarily know what your why might be, I think we've talked about this many times, but understanding your own personal values can just be the very basic drivers for whatever you're doing. So for me, I've got my words tattooed on my arms: fun, accomplishment, connection, and authenticity. I think a lot of times I will, create a minimalism or a minimalistic lifestyle based on those things. But I think also, just when it comes to space, it's all because I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I want to be happy. I want to have fun, and overwhelm is not fun. So always start with knowing your why, understanding, use your values if you're not really sure what your why is, and that's a good start to a compass. But really dig into, if you want to create more simple processes in your life, ask yourself why and answer. And if it's not enough, be like that annoying kid that's like, why? And drill down all the way until you're like, okay, then I know that what I'm doing is the right thing. What do you think, Gary? Anything to add to that?
Agree 100%. And one of the reasons why it's important to, lead with intention, have your why, understand your values, because you can use that as a compass. And one thing that I'd like to add to that is a thing that I call power patterns. And so these are words that have meaning. And when you think of a power pattern, you think about the emotion that is tied to that word. And then you can start to gauge things to say, does this thing, how does it align with this power pattern? So one of the power patterns that I have for just my work in general is inspired action through rebellious intention. And that is just a word that, rings strongly to me. And I start to evaluate the things through that. And I'll say, all right, this task that I'm doing, or this, um, thing that I'm going to be doing or being invited to do, how does it rate on a scale of 1 to 5 under that power pattern of inspired action through rebellious intention? And it's a great compass, uh, because if you don't know where you're starting for, or starting with, like, how are you going to know what to cut? Or through through Hamilton, because in this time of quarantine, I've been listening to a lot of that. If you don't know
July
what you
3rd.
Yes.
July 3rd. I'm going to watch that over and over and over again.
If you don't know what you stand for, how are you going to know what you're going to fall for? So that brings us to number 2, self-reflection. And not just any sort of self-reflection. It should be a routine self-reflection. And, just to kick this off is, by doing that, it helps you identify sources of stress. So once you know what your why is, and what you stand for, what your intention, you should start to evaluate whatever you like to simplify. Whether it's your work environment, maybe your physical environment in your house or whatever, and evaluate. I routinely will, go through my week with a notepad and start to, like, document all the things that I'm doing, and I'm just taking stock, so that I can start to, like, understand, is this important? Is this a priority? Is this not? And this allows you to be flexible, and identify what's working and what's not. And April, what do you think?
Yeah, all spot on. I think that, we've talked a lot about journaling, and, these types of things, these types of practices, or, practicing gratitude. This is something that I do on a daily basis and on a weekly basis, depending on who I'm talking with. Every week I have a family meeting with my family, and we ask the same amount of questions that allow us to do self-reflection. And a lot of times we get to hear from everyone about the things that they want to do, or, and be able to act upon them, because we had the opportunity to reflect on our week and what we want to do for the week ahead. So it'll allow you to brainstorm alternative solutions and processes. I would also say that, like, routine self-reflection can just be, like, especially if things are hard, just having a venting session with somebody, whether it be somebody in your house or a friend who's willing to listen, and just to get those grievances off your plate, to say, okay, those are things that I need to attend to, and how can I start to do that? But without that self-reflection, you're just kind of continuing to move and kind of survive in that sense, which we don't want to do. So, all right, are we ready for number 3?
Number 3, and this is where you get to the dirty work of simplifying, is purge regularly. I know, we've all, or at least a number of people that I know, we talk about the Marie Kondo, I'm going to Marie Kondo this, and you do it once, and you go through, you see how does it fit along power patterns or my why or values, and you cut. But the interesting thing is, I like to call it the vacuum principle, and I learned it from a mentor of mine, Michael Burnoff, and he says that, for everything that you sort of cut out and you create a void, it starts to fill back in. So before long, those things that you cut out, more things are going to start to pile back in. So it's important to have a process or a cycle where you're reevaluating and recutting things out. What do you think?
Yeah, and I would say that sometimes, to get into a regular purging situation, it might take one large project. So one of the things that I think everybody hears me talk about, which hopefully they'll never hear about again, other than the fact that how I'm winning at this, is that I have had a constant struggle with email for at least the last 3 years, where I'm like, okay, I have all these emails and I'll get to them later. And it was building to like 500 unread emails that I've kind of glanced through, but like there was stuff hiding in there. And I spent the last 2 weeks saying, okay, I need to address these emails, but just looking at 500, it makes me want to like chuck my computer at the wall. So instead of that, let's go back to just knowing, having unread emails be the things that I actually want to tackle today, but have a process to revisit some of these emails. And some of them are really not important, but for some reason I want to still give attention to every single one, because that's the crazy OCD part of me. But but to be able to do that purge and say, okay, now I have a system where like I'm going to revisit some, 5 emails of that. And yeah, it might take me till August to really clear out all of this stuff, but now I have a process and I don't feel nearly as overwhelmed. So you might have to do a big like cleanup project, figure out a process, and then if you don't want to do something where you're purging regularly, like on a daily basis, or even when you have clutter on your desk, you can say, okay, I'm going to create this pile. It's going to build up, but the goal is that every Saturday that has to be gone. Everything has to be in its place, and then I start over. So you need to just figure out a cycle that works for you, whether it be daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and it really depends on what it is that you're doing. But trying to make sure that you continue to purge, or it's just going to continue to build up. And I know that it's not easy because there's a lot of things that I have on my plate. I don't know about you, Gary, that I have to figure out this purge situation. So yeah. That's tip number 3. And those are our 3 tips to keeping things simple.
Yes. So love to hear your thoughts. Do you have any tips to help you simplify your life? Also, are you finding yourself, getting things complex, being in this, work from home order? I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier, and he was talking about because him and his wife are having to both work at home. They found a lot of clutter piling up just because they immediately had to throw in 2 desks and all these other things, and they took some time to go through the process, and now they feel a little bit more a little bit more at ease now that they got things organized. So
your space is everything. And I know that we're not just talking about space, but like the space in your mind and the space around you. I definitely have my little clutter pile here, which you can't really see. It looks clean, but it's a little crazy right now.
Yeah, everyone has their own environments, and if you're not regularly tending to that, things can get a little bit out of hand. So, anywho, that has been another Success Quickie 27. In fact, we are the success team. And April, where can people find us if they are interested in finding a community like ours?
Yes, it's www. Look at, I'm like doing all the sign language at accountabilitysuccesscircle.com. We are an awesome community that will help you stay focused on whatever it is that you're working on, while also giving you a little boost of personal development growth on the way. And it's just super fun. So come join us. All right. We'll see you again.
Yes. Till next time.
Tell them about our webinar if you're.
We should tell them about our webinar.
Yes. We have a webinar next Wednesday. We do one every month based on the theme. So it is a minimalism theme. I don't have the title in front of me, which I was not prepared. But here it comes. It's next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central, noon, Wednesday, May 20th. And the title is How to Implement and Keep a Minimalist Attitude in Your Life. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more about keeping things simple, talking a little bit more in depth since we have a little bit more time. So feel free to check us out and join us.
Yes, and we're going to have an amazing guest.
Anthony
Angaro from Break the Twitch. He's an amazing dude. He's going to be joining us. So yes, I will make sure to post the link to this in the comments. And yeah, so till next time, peace out, folks. Yes, we're gonna dance it out.